Stefan, thank you so much for coming on. I believe you are the first British guest I've had. The king of networking, literally written the book on the subject. That's my sum up of you. But yeah, for people listening along at the moment in Australia or overseas or wherever you are, yeah, tell us a bit about yourself. I don't know you.
Well, listen, I'm going to share the hell out of this, so I really hope you'll get people listening outside Australia. I'm really flattered to be the first Brit you've had. Thank you for inviting me. Thanks to our mutual friend Edward Zia
Edward
for
Zion.
putting us
Yeah,
together.
I've
Um,
had a Scottish guy on. I must apologise. I've had
oh,
someone from
they
Scotland.
count.
Yep, they do technically count under the UK bracket, but yeah, in terms of England, you tick the box.
Scotland counts for now, but that's a political subject. Let's not get onto. So yeah, this is me. I'm the author of Business Networking for Dummies and another couple of books as well. I speak all over Europe. Planning to come to Sydney in 2021 as it goes. I've got those plans starting to come together already to talk to people about networking, because it's a subject that I was really scared of when I first started going networking, and then realised that we'd overcomplicated it all the way through. So I just like to help people to uncomplicate it and make it work for them.
I love that, especially that story there where you've come from being afraid of it yourself. And I think that would have been the catalyst for you to deep dive into how can I get better? Because I think a lot of people can, I guess, relate to being scared and getting out of the comfort zone. Do you remember that first networking event that you went to? I suppose.
Yeah, I do. And let me say, the catalyst for me getting better was having no money. Um, so the very first networking event that I went to, I was terrified. No one told me about the bit where you have to stand up and do a 60-second introduction. So I wasn't expecting that. I now speak for a living, but back then, which was 2005, 15 years ago, um, this wasn't what I did. I didn't stand up in front of people. And more than that, when I arrived at the networking meeting, I convinced myself that everyone in the room was better than me somehow, that they had a better business, that they had more money, that they were more confident than me. So not only was I unexpectedly having to stand up in front of a group of people and introduce my business, but I was having to stand up in front of a group of people, all of whom I reckoned was somehow better than me. And I just, yeah, I really got really scared in that moment. Didn't enjoy my first networking event at all. To make it worse, I'm going to name check him again. They put me next to Witney, Oxfordshire's version of Edward Zia. So I live in a town called Witney in Oxfordshire in England. They put me next to the most confident guy in the room.
Wow.
And that was, I had to follow him when I stood up and did my 60-second introduction. So that made it even worse. So yeah, went from hating it in 2005. 15 years later, this is actually the first conversation I've had where I've worked out it's 15 years. I've written 3 books on it, and get to talk to people in Australia about networking now. That's just mad to me.
Yeah, fantastic. I'll put in a very strong g'day for you for the UK listeners. I actually really want to get into that psyche of you thinking you're not as good as the other person. I mean, that it's something, this imposter syndrome, especially as a young entrepreneur myself. It's very easy to convince yourself out of your own skill set. And how did you, I guess, overcome that and then realize, oh, hang on, no, I'm here for a reason. I'm good at what I do. I've started this business because I'm good at what I do. What for you was that flick and realized, oh, hang on, I'm actually worth something here?
It took a very long time. I'm 50 next week.
Congratulations.
I thank you very much. A week tomorrow, I'll be 50 years old. That didn't happen at first, Tim. As I alluded to a little while ago, the first catalyst for me having to learn how to get good at networking was that I had to pay the mortgage. So it wasn't any big sort of huge now what light bulb moment for me. It was that I practically had to get good at this, and even, you know, I was asked to write that book.
Yeah.
Even after that, and that was 2013. Logically, I knew that I'd been approached by an international brand, that I was now speaking, you know, all over Europe on the subject of networking. Logically, I knew I must be pretty good at this stuff. But it still didn't click in there until literally a couple of years ago. I reckon around 2018, it finally clicked in there. And it's only within the last couple of years that I've really stopped caring whether other people believe I'm good at what I do or not. The ones that matter do, and the ones that don't weren't ever going to like me anyway. And it's all linked to the same thing for me. I spent most of my life trying to be a people pleaser and trying to do what everyone wanted. It's only in the last couple of years that it's clicked into place for me that I don't have to worry about that. And in that time, I've started charging a lot more because I'm attracting the right people to me. And as a result of that, I'm enjoying life a lot more. I'm doing the right speaking gigs. I'm working with the right one-to-one clients. But I don't know whether this helps your listeners or not. I'm sure cleverer people than me would have got there much quicker than me, but it took me an awful long time to absolutely believe it in here. That's a lot more about my psyche than it is about networking, but that's the truth.
No, but that's incredibly valuable. And I think the thing you said there about not caring what other people think about you, there's the not caring in the blasé way, but there's the not caring in the healthy way of, this is who I am, this is what I do. If they don't like me, they're not going to do business with me anyway. So why should I care what somebody thinks? You know, I've had, funny enough, I grew a TikTok account to about 20K followers, and I had hate on a turtle video. There was literally just a turtle swimming around. Like, so if you can take that emotion out of it and go, that person is just hating for hate's sake, and go back to your value, and this is what I'm worth, this is how I can charge, and then work with the right people, as you said, gives you so much power, doesn't it?
It's interesting. I launched a free app on New Year's Day this year. So get yourself on there for your
Yep.
listeners anywhere
Please
in the
do.
world. Search the Networking Retreat on the app stores. We'll put this podcast out on there as well, Tim.
Fantastic.
When I launched the app, which I'm really proud of, I'm building a big community outside of Facebook and LinkedIn.
Great.
You know, not big compared to Facebook and LinkedIn. That's not what I'm saying, but I'm building a community of people who get free advice from me. I still got people hating on that. I don't see the point of this app, and it was the sort of thing that I was being put on social media. And for me, years ago, I would have looked at that and that would have killed me. That would have stopped me in my tracks. I would have got embarrassed about the app. Now in 2020, a week away from being 50 years old, I'm like, yeah, so what? You were never going to like it anyway. It could have been an app which dispensed free money, and you would have criticised it. So I've got to that point, and that's incredibly liberating. But it's only in speaking to you that I've added it up, that it's 15 years from walking into that networking meeting and knowing that everyone was better than me to now being reasonably sure that everyone's better than me in some way, but actually not caring anymore. I'm good with it.
Exactly, being comfortable and content with your own thing. I mean, even with what I do, there are better videographers out there. There are, you know, the David Lettermans. There's better interviewers than me. I mean, I like to think I'm a good interviewer, but being content with your level and then looking at that as someone else's success as a benchmark and as inspiration for you to get better, not as a negative thing, I think is very powerful for people as well.
I think it's incredibly powerful. And one of the things that I talk about from stage, one of the things that I get into my workshops is that it's not about being the most confident person in the room. I think a lot of people go to networking events and they come across the guy who I came across, or these days they come across me because, of course, I'm really polished when I stand up and do my stuff at networking events now. But I want people to understand, I'm talking to you at 9:15 in the morning UK time. In 12 hours time, I'll be speaking at an evening networking event. I will want the people in the room to know that it's not about being the most confident guy in the room, that you can still have business success if you haven't got that bit right yet, and that it will come when the time's right for you. I think because we've got role models in my world like Gary Vaynerchuk. He's chucking out 100 pieces of content a day. If I were to measure my success based on that as a gauge, then I might as well stop now. But I think we sometimes we measure ourselves against everyone else's race, not against our own. And I've got much better at looking how far I've come in 15 years rather than looking at how far behind someone else I am. I hope that makes sense.
Oh, that
Sort of
makes
makes
complete
sense in
sense.
my head.
No, it makes complete sense. Definitely very powerful. I'd love to now get into networking because it's the awesome thing that we're now talking about. But for people who maybe are listening to this and you're just about to go to a networking event and you've put this podcast on to maybe get a bit of tips or tricks. And I don't think networking is about tips or tricks. Personally, myself, I don't want to sound egotistical, but I've been lucky in the fact that my personality type suits networking. There's a lot of improvement that I know I can grow, but I've always just enjoyed meeting people. Even as a young kid, I'd be the person that wants to go and meet someone. So lucky in that sense. But for people where it doesn't come naturally, how do they adapt to that, or do they just take on elements of their personality that could suit the room?
A lot of things.
Yeah.
It's perfectly okay to be yourself at networking, and you absolutely should. So much effort is wasted trying to put on a costume, trying to put on a coat of armor before you go to networking. Actually turn up and be yourself. That's absolutely cool. I think in terms of practical tips, if you're going to the sort of networking event where you're going to need to stand up and introduce yourself, then do yourself the favor of rehearsing, getting that right in advance. Have something written down if you need to. Social media is really your friend these days. If at all possible, find out some other people who are going to be at the networking event, connect with them in advance. If you can work out who the organizer is, then get directly in touch with the organizer, ask them what the format is, what the dress code is, if there's going to be a dress code, what you need to bring, so that you're not embarrassed on the day. I don't care about dress codes anymore, but I turned up to an event sometime in the 1990s where I was the only person in the room not wearing a suit.
Right.
I'd be cool with that these days, but it embarrassed the hell out of me then. So use social media, find out who's organising the event, get in touch with them first, and plan your stuff. Plan your 60-second introduction or 40-second introduction. Think about how you're going to answer the question, what do you do? Because someone's going to say, so what do you do? What's your business? And just have a little bit of a plan about it. But know that so much of networking success is what you do outside the room, and such a tiny part of it is what you actually do at the event. So chill as well.
Yeah. I'd love to get into like a favorite sort of tactic of mine. I 90% of the time just ask people questions about them, and I don't even want to talk about myself. Like, I go to a networking event, I want to learn about someone else. Like, it's not about me. Even though I wear t-shirts that it's probably hard to see here, but it says "Ask me who I've been talking with," which opens up a good conversation. But I just love going, what do you do question is really powerful if you're the one asking it, I think.
one of the biggest questions I get asked, one of the biggest criticisms that I get leveled at networking events is people say, but I went along and everyone just talked about themselves and no one wanted to listen to me. And I've coined this phrase in my first book: every big opportunity starts with a little conversation. And there's quite a lot going on in there. What you get, and which I so wish so many other people would get, is that the networking event is the start of the conversation. So many people trying to get the beginning and the end of the conversation all into a 2-hour networking event. I need to meet this guy. I need to tell him all about my business. I need to work out whether he wants to work with me. Just chill. Just find out about the other people. Really importantly, when you come away from networking events with a load of business cards, this is why I've got the camera focused here and not down there.
Yeah.
Come away from events with a load of business cards. That's when the real networking happens. You connect with people, find out about them at the event, just chat to them. It's after the event that you can put in the actual working, really connecting with people.
I really, really love that. I will spend, when I get a stack of business cards, I don't know if I have any. No, I would have put them all in my box. They're down here.
Yeah, because you're organised.
Yeah, hang on. I'll sorry for people listening along. Here we go. My girlfriend actually made this for me. It says contacts.
Oh, brilliant. I love that.
And then, there we go. There they go. And then here's, there's the box. Sorry.
Hey, Tim, hold the front of the box up again. I'm going to screen grab that.
Yeah.
When I hold that up, screen grabbing on Chromebook. There we go. 3, 2, 1. There we go. Thank you. I'm going to put out a post immediately after we've done this recording to say that we've done it, and that was just too good an opportunity to miss.
Fantastic. Yeah, I'll give her a shout out on way too many podcasts. Her ego will be getting big, but thank you to my amazing girlfriend that made me that box. It was fantastic. But yeah, I get these business cards and then I'll go through and add them on LinkedIn or send them an email and go, especially if I've had a conversation with them, maybe lesser so if it's one of those churn and burn networking where you're just given a stack of cards anyway. If I haven't had a personal conversation with the person, I'm less likely to do that. I don't know if that's a mistake or not. That's probably a question I'll ask you. Is that a mistake not to add someone that I haven't had a personal contact with?
No, I only add people personally who I've actually spoken to. I think the number of events that I've been to and you've been to where you get an email the next day saying, hey Tim, we met yesterday, and you think, yeah, we didn't meet. I was here, you were over there at the other end of the room. So I don't like that sort of approach. I think if there's been someone notable at the event, like the speaker, for example, even if I haven't had a chance for a personal conversation, I'll find them on LinkedIn, send them a brief message saying, hey, Tim, listen to your presentation yesterday. Sorry, that's how I type. Listen to your presentation yesterday was I really liked this part of what you had to say. So I will always take an excuse to connect with someone. Usually that I've met them, that I've shaken their hand, whatever, but if they've been the speaker at an event, I'll still fire them off a quick message. What I won't ever do is start to try and sell to someone if there's no relationship there, if we haven't had a conversation. Too many people, you get an email to say, hey Tim, it was great to meet you yesterday. We didn't meet. And by the way, would you like to buy this from me? That's got to be wrong, and I still don't get why other people don't see that that's completely wrong.
They just see it as this: every business card is a sales opportunity, rather than every relationship is a potential sales opportunity if I've built up know, like, trust, buy.
And the thing is, you don't go to networking events to be someone else's prospect. No one does.
No.
And yet some people treat everyone at a networking event as if they were a prospective customer. And that's not ever the way that I look at it. Different networking events have a different version on the same theme. In the UK, we talk about meet, like, know, trust. But it's that, how do you bridge that gap between meet and trust And you don't do it by simply going in and starting to sell to someone straight away.
Mm. Exactly. I mean, and that's in any course of business, really. Like, you can't just be sending out a LinkedIn request or cold calls, or, we live in 2020 these days. Like, build up some form of relationship before you ask me to, open my wallet, essentially. Yeah. I'd really like to know where you clicked over to then making money from networking events. So I believe on your website, I'll actually go back to it. I did some research, but it says, making money out of networking events was the theme of the page I was on. I'm sorry, I'm not quoting it directly, but you could probably quote me as well, quote yourself.
It's a conversation I have with a lot of people. People say, I've been to a lot of events, I've collected a lot of business cards.
Here we go. Would you like to convert your networking conversations into real business? And that was actually really, when I saw that on your website, it was really powerful. So yeah, to expand on that, I would love to know more.
It's the real mixed message about networking, and I get why this is confusing for people. We've just talked about not jumping in and selling. That's what we've just talked about. And then where people get confused is that I go to networking events to sell stuff, and so does everyone else. So it's all about building relationships, but we shouldn't be ashamed, embarrassed about the fact that we go there to sell. I'm going to drive 90 minutes at 4:30 this afternoon to go to an evening networking event to get home about 10 o'clock tonight. And I don't do that just because I enjoy networking events. I do it because I expect something positive will come from one of those relationships. So I think a lot of people get embarrassed about that, and a lot of people don't know how to turn those conversations into sales, how to properly describe what they do so that other people can buy into it, and how to identify the people who are moving towards them who might want to buy from them. And for me, it was out of desperation. I had to get good at this stuff. Originally, when I started going networking, I was in the UK what we call an estate agent, what you would call a real estate agent, I think, or a realtor.
Yep.
That's what I was doing when I first started going networking. When that career came to an end, I was running a little local magazine, and I was then copywriting. I did copywriting for a few years, and I was good at that.
Talk about a lesson on how to sell.
Yeah, because what I had to get good at, getting good at copywriting, there are a load of brilliant copywriters out there who never make sales. I had to get good at copywriting, and I had to learn how to sell it as a service, and how to sell enough of it to pay my mortgage every month.
Yeah.
And so the reputation which I built was that, I was a good copywriter, but equally, get this guy to come to your group and tell you how to network better, because he's making a ton of sales from networking. So I had to learn that. And then I realized along the way that a lot of people weren't getting that lesson. I had some brilliant mentors along the way, each of whom I took something from. I'll be doing a podcast with the wonderful Brad Burton actually later on this morning for me.
I'm doing a shout out to Brad. I'll be talking to Brad as well. We're just in the process of setting it up.
Brilliant. Good. So Brad runs For Networking, the network which I joined in 2007.
Yeah.
And between him and other mentors, I learned how to turn this stuff into sales, and that's what I now focus on with people. So many people are brilliant practitioners, but they get embarrassed about being salesmen as well.
And as entrepreneurs, we are salespeople. It's just a natural conversation, and I think networking can be a really good playground in a sense to refine all of these things, especially if you need to give an elevator pitch of 30-60 seconds. It shocks me. I've been to networking events where they go around the table and every business owner gets up, but about 70 or 80% of them are reading off their phone. at their pitch, their elevator pitch, and what they do for a business, they're reading off their phone or a bit of paper. Now, it's good to have it written down and prepared, but I was, my jaw dropped. I was flabbergasted that they didn't have a prepared 60-second speech as to what their business did without having to read off a phone. It's like they're reading off their website, and why do you think that is? Why are they nervous? Are they, what's going on there?
It's a mixture of things. People put the responsibility on the other person, and you hear it all the time. People put the responsibility of understanding what we do on the listeners rather than taking that responsibility ourselves. I think that's one thing. People feel entitled that everyone else should get what they do. The second thing is, in 2020, it's never, certainly in the United Kingdom, it's never been as easy to be an entrepreneur, but still not enough people are telling people that to be an entrepreneur, it's not just about being a fantastic practitioner. You can be the best practitioner in the world, but if you can't sell that into other people, then the other guy's going to be making more sales than you. And so people don't put enough effort into their marketing, their sales, their personal presentation. And I think that's one of the things that defines successful entrepreneurs, successful business people from those who don't have enough success. It's not always, it's not even often lack of talent in their particular field. It's those who put the effort into getting better at selling it, and then put the effort into getting out there and selling it. Effort is something I talk about a great deal. There are brilliant business people out there making no money, and because they've not learned how to sell what it is that they do.
They almost are a practitioner by nature, so they outsource the sales and they outsource the marketing. So therefore, they don't know the sales and the marketing. So when it comes to delivering that 60-second speech, that's why they've got to, read it off their phone.
Absolutely, and not put the effort into practicing and rehearsing it, so they come across with a bit more confidence. Once again, it's not all about being confident, but it does help the start of the conversation if you present an alluring, intriguing 60-second introduction. By the way, I hate the phrase elevator pitch, but we can talk about that another time.
The reason I use it is everybody knows what it is, but
they do.
Yeah.
They think they know what it is, and it winds me up so much. But
well, let's talk about it then. If it winds you up, let's go down there.
Well, this bit is sort of potted because this is something I talk about on stage a lot. But this idea of the elevator pitch, when I first read about it sometime in the 1990s, you were getting into an elevator with Donald Trump. That's who it was, and you had this once in a lifetime opportunity. You were only going up to the third floor, so you had 60 seconds, and you had to have this potted pitch ready to go, so that if ever you bump into your ideal client, you can immediately start telling them all about your business. And there's two things particularly I don't like about it. The first one is in England, we call it a lift. We don't call it an elevator. That joke will not work where you are. The second thing is, does it sort of work?
Sort of. I think Australia, because we're all from England at some point. The convicts we are, so it kind of works.
But the second thing is that if you really were in that lift, what's your best chance of success? Is it really telling someone else all about their business, or is it finding out a little bit about them and at the end of the conversation saying, look, do you mind if we connect on LinkedIn? Do you mind if I send you a quick message after the event? Do you mind if we keep in touch? Rather than just spend that 60 seconds sort of vomiting all over someone else all about your business, put the effort into getting to know them, start the conversation, and then allow that conversation, take responsibility for continuing that conversation after the event. That's what I hate about the elevator pitch. It suggests that 60 seconds when you're going up to the third floor, that's the start and the end of the story, and it should never be that.
And then that almost gets proliferated through the networking event where they think the 2 hours is the start and the end, which is what we were talking about before.
Absolutely so.
And I guess if I can find out in 60 seconds what somebody's pain points are, and then my product or service or benefit fits that, then I think that's a much better use of your time, right?
Yeah, very much so. Or, you know, most people at networking events won't immediately express interest in buying from you. And those that do, by the way, you know, you have to follow up with them. You have to book the next
Yeah,
appointment.
they will
Get
happen.
onto it.
Yeah.
But the ones who don't, if you've had a conversation with them, you still have an opportunity to keep in touch with them. Particularly in 2020, you've got Instagram and TikTok and LinkedIn and Twitter and Facebook and email marketing and the phone. It's still okay to pick up the phone and talk to people and so on. It's, you know, that's still these opportunities to keep in touch. And the real opportunity is that most people won't bother. Most people won't put the effort into keeping those conversations going after the event, and that's where I see some of the biggest opportunities in all of this.
I'd say that's really interesting. We have touched on it a little bit, but keeping that conversation going, you know, either through email, either through LinkedIn, either through, but doing it in a way that adds value, I think, is probably key as well. Would you have something to touch on in terms of that?
Yeah, two ways of adding value. The first one is be genuinely interested in the other person. So keeping in touch with them does not mean broadcasting about your business all the time. A book which I've got somewhere around here, but a book which I refer to a lot is How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie.
Right.
And to paraphrase Dale, what they say in that book is that you will win more friends in 2 months by being genuinely interested in them than you will in 2 years by trying to be interesting to them. And in 2020, we can show people that we're interested. We can like, comment, share, read their articles, watch their videos, listen to their podcasts. And the real opportunity is that most people won't bother to do that, because what most people will do is just broadcast. What I've found is that the more you pay genuine interest in other people, the more of them come back and pay some interest to you. Then you've got your opportunity for other people to digest your content. And again, the real opportunity is that most people aren't putting enough content out there. You're putting effort into your TikTok channel, you're putting effort into your podcast, you're putting effort into the other pieces of content you put out there. So if I come and look at you online, if I think, well, I've met this guy and he says he knows what he's talking about, and oh, he's commented on one of my things, he's invited me on my on his podcast, and wow, there's his podcast, there's the articles which he's written, there's videos which he's done. That then becomes a pretty compelling argument for me to keep interested in that person. I put out lots of free networking advice to the extent that if someone digested all of my free networking advice, they'd never need to work one-to-one with me, they'd never need to buy my books. And yet the more that I do of that, the more people want to work with me. It's the counterintuitive thing, I can't think of the right word, that so many people just don't get about social media and keeping in touch with people these days.
Yeah, it's kind of the best thing I've heard about that is someone was afraid of giving away all their intellectual property, which is they were a service-based business, but then another person basically said back to them, I'm an education business. I give away all of my intellectual property for free, yet I've just filled up a room full of people. You know, people will come back to you, give away that information, and people will come back to you for the implementation of that information. You know, that's
and
where, yeah.
But that's where, when everyone gets it, they understand that they are an education business as well.
Yeah.
And there are very few businesses, I can't think of one at the moment, where we couldn't apply that to. If you're in construction, you could be putting out content showing people how to do the stuff themselves so that they don't need you. and more people would buy from you as a result. If you were a dentist, if you were putting tips out as to how to look after your teeth so you didn't need a dentist, more people would buy from you as a result. And people still aren't completely getting that if I tell people for free how to do their 60-second introduction, more people want to buy that service from me, and yet that's utterly counterintuitive, and people aren't completely getting the link there.
It's fascinating, even myself. So I've started producing podcasts for other business owners that want their own amazing show and amazing content. And what I found is I've just started a group, how to start a podcast. And by giving away all the free content, I've got so many more messages now of people going, how do I have a half day with you? How do I, have a day with you where you can come and set this up for me? Because you can put it all out there, but it still takes, a bit of clicking around. It's kind of like if a job takes an expert 30 minutes of time, you're not paying the expert for 30 minutes of time. You're paying them for the 10 years that it took for them to become an expert. And that's I think, one of the keys to it, yeah?
And absolutely make sure when we get finished here, I presume you work internationally, technology allows you to do so. Search out the Networking Retreat on the app stores, get stuck into my community, because there are people in there who need a podcast. And me and you should talk offline about that as well.
We might do that, yeah.
as far as my stuff is concerned, because I've got a podcast on hold at the moment.
Oh, fantastic.
It's I was watching someone else's Instagram the other day, Janet Murray. I'll shout out Jan Murray UK on Instagram. So good that I even remember her handle. But Jan is putting tons of completely free PR advice out on her Instagram and IGTV channel. And she is overwhelmed with DMs from people who want to work one-to-one with her. And when I will do live streams into my app where I talk to people about exactly how to handle a networking event, exactly how to do your 60-second introduction. Every time I do that, someone asks me, how can I come to the networking retreats? Can I work one-to-one with you? What's the best way of working with you, Steph? Every time I give information for free, people want to work with me.
I hope the listeners are listening along are having this same effect, because it's having this effect to me as well. I'm listening to this and you talking and going, actually, I'm not putting out as much informational content as I could be doing. There's so many videos in the backlog, but I'm just doing the podcast stuff. But there's so much that I can write blogs on, that I can do this and that. And I get it. I know I need to put this out, but I haven't been doing it as much as I should. I've been doing some stuff in the group that I've made. And people can check that out, but I should be writing articles. I should be, doing all of that. Making a YouTube channel is so conducive for it as well. Top 5 things I wish I knew about podcasting before I started. These are the things that even myself, I'm listening to you going, yeah, okay, I need to go back and do that.
Don't beat yourself up. Gary Vaynerchuk has a team of people following him around now. So someone, he's got a video camera pointed at him constantly, and he's got a team of people who edit that back at his HQ. So he does put his own content out there. He still does. I know that. But he does have a team of people to help him with that. We sat in the cafe on Sunday morning, and I was talking to my partner, Sharon, about something, and she said, do a video. And I said, look, it's busy. There's people around me. I get embarrassed doing videos here. She said, but it's a great environment, great backdrop. Do a video. And I said, I haven't. My hair's all scruffy. We've been to the gym and so on. And she said, do a video. And we did a video, and it was easy. And that's the really annoying thing. It's given people value. No one in the cafe laughed at me, and even when I have had people laughing at me when I've been doing videos in public places, it wasn't the end of the world. We all talk ourselves out of stuff, and you know what? That is okay. We all do it. The realization of that, as you've said this morning, and the realization that I've asked you for a screen grab of this morning, so that I will remember to put a piece of content out today to say, you know, when Tim Beanland wanted someone to talk about networking, he came and asked me, screen grab, look out for the podcast. I'll share the link in the future. Just a subtle piece of content that reinforces that I'm out there talking about networking all the time.
All the time.
There is, I'm a big fan of Gary Vaynerchuk. I've talked about him a lot.
Yeah.
We could all do more, but we all have to be realistic that we don't have a camera team following us around all the time.
Yeah, but the way we do more, and this is something I'm obsessed by. So I'm a marketing nerd. That's in my bio, and it's that micro content. And by micro content, I mean you think of an idea, whip your phone out, and just do a live video. I know it's scary, but you did it in a cafe when you'd just been to the gym. Now I've got an advantage that I'm losing my hair, so I wouldn't have had the I wouldn't have had the gym that problem. But you know. That authenticity is so powerful. That authenticity of we've just been to the gym. Ed Zia does videos at Anytime Fitness on a daily basis. You know, the guy loves Anytime Fitness.
I'm having a midlife crisis and growing my hair, but it's not just micro content, it's micro moments. And I've written tons about this and need to remember this myself. When you are waiting for your son to come out of the after school club, that's my life. When you are on a train, when you are waiting for a delayed train, when you're waiting for a delayed flight, all of these little moments where we have 10 minutes, 15 minutes, an hour, I really try very hard not to waste those. And I will get my phone out, tap out a piece of content, do something, go to LinkedIn, reply to a load of other people's articles and stuff. I will try and use those micro moments to get content out there, because I know I've had some really sensible business inquiries from commenting on other people's blogs. I've had some really sensible inquiries from appearing on other people's podcasts. I don't just do this out of the goodness of my heart. You know, you're allowing me to get to your audience, and that's huge. It's enormously flattering, and it's a huge opportunity. And I try and use those micro moments to do a little bit. If you do podcasts, you focus on voice a lot. A huge tip which I can give to people, which I know Edward Zia is on the same tip as well, is voice replying to people.
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah.
Voice replying and video replying to people makes it so much more personal, and people absolutely love it. And you can do it on LinkedIn, you can do it on WhatsApp, you can do video replies all over the place as well. It just shows you put in a tiny bit more effort into the relationship, and people really respond to that.
But you know what's funny? It's more effort, but I've found it's actually easier. It's so much easier to do a voice message. And I think, you know, the reason I like Ed so much is because he does that. My girlfriend, when he first started doing videos to me or messages to me, my girlfriend's like, hang on, that's a bit strange. Because it's not the normal. But then my reply to her was, you know what? I like this guy more because he's doing it. So
I get a video message from Ed once a month, and you know, I don't know whether he's got a system to remind him or whether he just remembers. But I really appreciate it. Even sometimes I don't reply. That's a rubbish thing for me. But I really appreciate it every time he does it. Exactly the same as you. The first time Sharon heard Ed's voice, she said, "Who's that guy calling you awesome Stefan?" Because he pronounces my name differently to the way we pronounce it over here. And you know, God, I remember Ed so much. He certainly stays, you know, in my field of vision. He certainly stays in my attention. And once again, back to that word about effort. He could not do that, and people wouldn't notice, but he puts probably 10 minutes of effort into that a day, and I bet he touches 20 people, and it makes a massive difference to them. You know, just a clever thing to do.
100%. Stefan, I think that's a really awesome spot to end it on, actually, because that's a really actionable tip for people to take away. If you can go to networking events, have those promising conversations, but continue the conversation via voice message in a non-creepy way. Do it the way Ed does it. So connect with Ed, see how he does it. That is probably a real good theme and actionable point for the listeners here. And I think that's an awesome spot to leave it on. But I've got 2 more questions for you that I ask everybody. The first one is, what's coming up for you in the next sort of 6 to 12 months that you're really excited about? It could either be something that's really positive and cool and you're going speaking, or even a challenge that you're really keen to push through. What's coming up for you?
Yeah, two things, I guess. I'm having a party for my 50th birthday next week, and I've not had birthday parties in my adult life. It's not ever been something that I've done before, and it does feel like a bit of a turning point in my life. It's a really interesting one. So that's like really, really current for me. The big audacious thing is that, and this isn't happening in the next 6 months, but it's certainly going to be announced in the next 6 months, that we are launching the networking retreat in Sri Lanka. I run a number of events in the UK under the banner The Networking Retreat. I will be bringing that to Sydney in 2021. You heard it here first.
Fantastic.
But one of my long-standing clients is a guy who's a travel agent who specialises in Sri Lanka. And him and I have been working together, and it turns out we can run the networking retreat in Sri Lanka. We can make it really good value. For a guy who's never been outside Europe, that's huge for me. So yeah, those are 2 things which are happening. I've got a big birthday, and I'm doing something massive and stupid for my business.
Yeah, and I actually now apologize. I might extend this a little bit because I did want to ask you about the networking retreat. So we didn't get into there. So listeners listening along, you're going to get a bonus 5 minutes. Yeah, tell us a bit about that networking retreat. It looks like a really fun experience for people that take a part in it.
Yeah, it is fun. Thank you. It started off as a 2-day training course on networking. I had a vision, and one of my mentors massively tried to talk me out of it, because running it over 2 days and putting everyone in the same hotel obviously costs me more than running a 1-day workshop. I had this vision that I'd bring people together for 2 days, not just to learn about networking, but to network amongst themselves. What's happened over the last 5 years that I've been running that is that the networking retreat has evolved into a stable of offerings, but the core offering, my flagship, is still the 2-day networking retreat event where people come to me in Oxfordshire. We spend 24 hours pretty much locked up in the same hotel. We do a load of training with them, plus we all eat together. We all go to the gym and the spa together. We all get to know each other on a much different, higher level than if we just turned up at 10 o'clock and went home at 4 o'clock. And I've got people doing business with each other years after attending the networking event. From that, it's now expanded. I've now got the networking retreat corporate, where next week I'm going in and training a sales team on networking skills. So doing a 6-hour version of the networking retreat in their own office. And I've got the networking retreat app, which is a free app where I give free networking advice every day, under the banner of the networking retreat. Plus, people who subscribe to the app get special offers, get discount codes, get first notification of new dates and that sort of thing. And that's that 2-day experience. I'll be bringing to Sydney sometime in 2021. Haven't got those details completely flushed out yet, but that's okay. What the networking retreat is.
What I will do is, if you guys want to keep updated on my Facebook page and Instagram, I'll let people know in 2021 when that comes out. So I will personally myself sign up to the app after recording the show. But if you guys want to download the app, I'll put that in the link of the show notes for you as well. My last question, if somebody has heard something in this podcast and they want to follow you more and they want to reach out, where's the best place to contact?
The best place is the Networking Retreat app, because that's where I'm hanging out a lot of the time. That's where I respond personally to DMs and so on. But hey, people can also find me on LinkedIn. I'm obviously also on Facebook as well, or on Instagram. Just search my name in any of those places, and you'll find me there. This is a tiny, very final tip, but always, rather than telling people where to find me, I've tried very hard to exist in multiple places so that I go to where they are, and make it as easy as possible for people to interact with me. Again, takes a bit of effort, but rather than expecting people to come to me, I've always made a point of going out to them. Yeah, and that sort of that's a pretty sensible place and time to wrap it up for me as well.
Fantastic. Well, Stefan, I've been Tim, you've been Stefan, and we've been talking. Thank you for coming on.
It's been really good to chat. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Cheers.